Aloha everyone, this is Leimomi Keliikuli, Intuitive Soul Alignment Mindset Coach here. And so today we are going to go over day 3 of my challenge on sacred program launches. So if you're listening in, just say hello so that I know that you're there. I'm going to be going over a lot of amazing, great content. And so if you really love what I share, please do share it on your page or your Facebook group. Or anywhere that you feel like people would benefit the most in seeing this amazing live stream. So today is the day 3 of sacred launches from source to ultimate gratitude to 5 figures. So today I'm going to really talk a lot about the strategy behind your sacred offer. With pure guidance from source and being in gratitude for that unique creation that you've just created. So today's topic is more about the alignment part of the strategy rather than exactly the to-do of exactly the things that you should be doing. This is just a unique way that I'm going to teach you to be more in alignment with your soul at the same time while you are doing this amazing launch. Hi, Amanda. So yeah, if you're just listening in, just say hi so I know that you're listening. And today is going to be about sacred launches. So what I am going to talk about is actually the unique way that you can do this by connecting with source. So source to me is God, like the God within you, the unique expression that God is expressing through your body, through your soul. So when I talk about source, I'm not talking about any religion or anything like that. I'm talking about the unique God within you that knows when everything, right? Your soul knows everything, right? Knows when you should launch, when you should make an offer, when you should do whatever, right? So I want you to actually think of source as a way of guiding you through like a new journey or a new lesson, a new experience that you may be looking for. But I want you to look at from a perspective of the God within you, right? So, because to me, God is not outside of you. God is like really inside of you because God is us. It's with us all the time. Whether you believe in any religion, it doesn't matter because everybody all has the same, we come from the same source. So I mean like the origin of who we are is basically what I'm going to kind of talk about, right? So here are the 2 main ingredients for your sacred launch. Okay, I know I talk about ingredients because to me that's just like how you cook, right? You add ingredients and things. Each one that I talked about the previous day, I was talking about ingredients because to me it's like you're cooking up a storm. You know, you're feeding your tribe, you're feeding a new kind of creation. So to me, that's why I say ingredients. So if you haven't listened to the previous previous live streams, please go listen to that because the first day 1 I talk about sacred creation, and day 2 I talked a lot about what was it? I talked about sacred offers, and today we're talking about sacred launches. Okay. So like I said, I'm talking about the strategy behind your sacred offer, but the strategies I'm talking about is based upon alignment to your superpower, alignment in a whole different fashion that you probably never really heard about. So the 2 ingredients, right, for creating a successful sacred launch is actually you need, number 1, spiritual mindset, which is what I've been talking about the entire time about this 3-day challenge. And you need number 2, which is spiritual strategy. Okay, so I'm going to describe to you these 2 main terms. So to me, spiritual mindset is actually like letting go of the resistance of owning your superpower. Okay, you probably never heard of this before, but basically what you're doing is you are embracing your blueprints, the unique energies of your soul, because your soul alignment blueprints is actually what you are at soul level, right? We are actually energy. We're not just matter. We're in all forms of energy. And there's actually a very specific energy that our soul is, and I call that your soul alignment blueprints, okay? So what spiritual mindset is about is like embracing your spirit, your soul alignment blueprints, your superpower in your life, in your business. And what you're doing is you're actually shifting your mindset right? Shifting your mindset by actually taking some form of soul aligned action. And to me, that's what I call soul aligned manifestation. It's because it's an action that was really, really aligned to the energy of who you are at soul level. Okay. So this is why it's important to know your soul alignment blueprints, because these are parts of your soul that source made you. So I'm not talking about, something very general. I'm talking about something very specific. So when you go into your Akashic records, which is where we look into all of these parts of your soul alignment blueprints. And by the way, when you look into your soul alignment blueprints, there's so much more information that you cannot even imagine that is even there. And I've been uncovering this for the past 2 years or so since I found my soul alignment blueprints. And every time when I go into it, there's like new information that's there, but I haven't figured out exactly what to do with that information. So that's what it kind of feels like. Sometimes you get a download of information, you're like, I don't know what to do with it. A lot of times it's coming directly from your soul alignment blueprints, and you don't even know it's from there. So I teach this technique on how exactly you can receive information directly from source. And it comes really deeply from within rather than how you're going to react, right, to your outside world. So spiritual mindset, like I said again, it's about like letting go that resistance and to really, really owning your superpower. And to do that, you need to shift some part in your life, in your business, that's regarding mindset, okay? So that's the first ingredient of your sacred launches. You need to use spiritual mindset when you're actually launching something, launching a new offer, launching something that is deep within your heart, that's your sacred work, right? So when I say your sacred launches, I mean like a program or something that is something that you've created directly from source. I'm not talking about just some, mastermind program that's just accountability. I'm talking about something that your heart and soul is creating to bring into your industry in a unique way. Okay, so that's the first thing you need is spiritual mindset. Second ingredient is you need spiritual strategy. Okay, so spiritual strategy to me is like aligning to your blueprints also, but you're really like uncovering your spiritual practice that allows you to like know exactly the steps of what it takes to launch something, to create something, right? Like in execution terms, right? So a lot of people are missing spiritual mindset because they don't really realize that they have to change their mindset in order to launch something first, right? Or you might have, or you might not be good at the strategy part, right? Where you're like, what is it that you need to do to execute to get the launch out? To me, spiritual strategy is like that part, the execution, but the execution regarding how source guides you. So like I said, like I just threw out an email to my list and to my Facebook group, and I sold out my early bird for my soul alignment blueprints modality because I use spiritual strategy and spiritual mindset at the same time. So making 6K plus, that I wasn't even including what I made, privately with other programs. It was just talking about my early bird. But what you want to do is you want to add in spiritual strategy and in a way that's executed, that's aligned to who you are at soul level at the same time, right? So like I said yesterday, like the reason why I did an email, I didn't go reach out to individual people, because usually that's what normally what people do when you do an early bird, right? You go reach out to specific people that that want to buy it, right? But for me, my spiritual strategy at that moment was to uncover something about my spiritual mindset, which is I was very afraid to put it out there, which I'll go over about sales attitude, about what could be stopping you from launching what you actually want to launch in your mindset. And for me, it was a big fear that nobody would buy. And I was terribly petrified, like for days of like just putting the offer out there, right? But it had a lot to do with I had some perceived notion that nobody's going to buy it. But the truth is, I already knew people were going to buy it because people have been telling me over the past 2 years that they want to buy it. But I just never put the offer out there because I was afraid of what will come, right, if I bring out my own unique sacred work that's beyond what's ever been launched before. Okay, so a lot of you may feel that way, where there's this like deep down fear of like getting it out there, because you have to understand what is your spiritual mindset you need to shift in order to get the right strategy to put it out there, right? So uncovering the spiritual strategy is it takes aligning to your blueprints first, right, in order to understand what actually is the execution to make the sale. Does it make sense? So you actually need to do the first step, which is the spiritual mindset, and then you got to do the spiritual strategy, and it has to be so aligned to your offer and all the 3 ingredients that I talked about yesterday, right? Your soulmate client, the spirit of your soulmate client, the spirit of your business, the spirit of your offer. If you don't have those 3 ingredients like before you do the strategy behind this, it's not going to make sense to your ideal client, and most likely they won't really buy completely as fast as it did for me when everybody bought my modality within 2 days, made more than 6K. So when I talk about spiritual strategy, I'm really talking about finding the thing that really is aligned to your ideal client to find you and buy it from you. Because it can be from a sales page, it can be from your early bird, it can be from like this, like I have a 3-day challenge, right, where somebody can buy something off of you because they're watching you, giving value to them, right? Or it could be a 5-day training, it could be a webinar, it could be a master class, right, which is very different from each other. There's different kinds of strategies out there, but it has to be really aligned to your spiritual mindset, to those 3 ingredients that I told you about for your sacred offer. And it actually has to come from creation, from your sacred creation, right? Your sacred creativity, which we talked about that in day 1. So again, if you didn't listen to those because they're really awesome information. Okay. So everybody got that? Any questions about that? Is spiritual mindset plus spiritual strategy will really allow this to be easy for you. I'm telling you, if you do these 2 major ingredients and you do everything in order that I just explained to you, it's going to feel like effortless. Like you didn't try much. You just showed up. You explained in great detail whatever your ideal client needed to know and why they needed to know it, right, beforehand, in order to actually buy from you, right? So the reason I'm talking a lot about spiritual mindset is because it's something that's nobody really talks about. How to bring what you know at your soul level and aligning to it and taking aligned action to it on top of the execution with it. Because you cannot launch something without the right mindset, without the right strategy and the right execution. If you don't have those 3 components, it's not going to make sense for your ideal client. You can have maybe the execution, you can work backwards, but never really, nobody had enough time, right, to be ready to make the purchase from you. Okay, because I see a lot of people do that, is they just throw out the offer or the strategy, but without actually spending the time with your ideal client to let them understand why they need to buy that specific thing from you, right? As you can see, I'm talking a lot about the soul alignment blueprints because most people don't even know what the heck that is, right? So if it's something that you're offering that is very unique, that no one knows about, you have to spend the time to explain it to your ideal client. Why do they need that? And really, this using your soul alignment blueprints is not just for your life, but it's also for your business, because when you utilize it and you utilize it in your own unique practice, what I have found is it actually enhances everything else that you do and actually saves you more time. So that was the major reason why I put it out there, because I knew it would save people a lot of time without being on calls all the time. Because if you make the soul alignment blueprints for your ideal client beforehand, and you've got a whole system already set up for that, you can easily give them the right direction without you even getting on a call or anything like that. And you can actually access really good information so that you can guide your ideal client to the transformation much more faster than just getting on calls and asking all kinds of questions, right? Because this is normally what you do. You try to uncover what they want and what they need, right? And then you kind of like tailor towards things. But what if you could actually read somebody's soul from the very beginning, right? Create their soul alignment blueprints, and then like use that as like your main roadmap as to where you're going into the things that they want to create, right? Their desires, their bigger visions of what they want to create, right? Without that, it's very hard to know exactly the direction that you need to go, because it ends up being like 3 months later and then you realize, oh, they wanted something else. Do you see what I'm saying? So spiritual strategy has a lot to do with utilizing who you are at soul level and figuring what kind of tools that will look like. Is it an audio program? Is it meditations, activations? Is it healings? There's so many different tools. So it has to be so aligned to your ideal client with the right mindset that you have, plus the right spiritual strategy, okay? So for example, of course, everybody knows my soul is more love superpower. So when you add love and process, which is the way I manifest too, which is I take step by step to the end product. My spiritual business, the spirit of my business is authenticity, and you add my spirit of my soulmate clients, which is power, love, and creation type of souls and expression souls. My spirit of my offer, right, is saving time. That is the transformation that I would like my ideal client to experience, is that so they're not on phone calls all day, right? So when you take all of those different ingredients, because what I'm just talking about here is just taking some parts of my blueprints, taking some parts of the sacred offer that I explained yesterday about those 3 ingredients, then that equals a soul line action to your specific offer, okay? So when you launch, you're actually launching you. You're launching the energies of your soul. So the more you align to a specific energy, the more likely your launch is going to be successful. And you're actually going to spend less time trying to, make the sale, right? And more time with feeling good and in flow beforehand. And everybody actually responds better to that kind of energy in the background, right? So the more you're in that flow, the more likely someone is going to buy it from you, right? Rather than if they are, they're not really aligned to you, right? Or they're not aligning to your unique energy of your soul. They're going to be the wrong ideal client. They may pay you 10, 15K, but then it's not going to feel good to receive that, because that person, you can't really give them the ultimate transformation, and you can't not be in ultimate gratitude, which I'm going to talk about that at the very end. So do you see how spiritual mindset, spiritual strategy is really 2 very big key components in making a successful sacred launch, right? A launch of your program, a launch of your products. It can be anything. So when I added up like all those specific energies that I explained to you, right? What I did during the past month, literally the past month, was I did all kinds of spiritual mindset and spiritual strategy. So for examples, I spent a lot of time with my family, a lot of time with my son and my husband. So of course that created a lot of love and connection. I did a lot of tests to figure out what was my health issues, because I found out again that those life areas, there's certain, out of the 10 life areas, you have to figure out which one you need to change. And I was sacrificing my energy a lot. Like as soon as I get energy, I give it to somebody else. And so I needed to actually do things to help improve my health and actually ask for help. So I saw an acupuncturist, saw a doctor, trying to just uncover what's wrong with me. And I still actually don't really know for sure. So that was a very, very much a self-love act. Because I'm a love superpower, everything about my theme is always about love and connection and community. So when you have a specific, when you know what your specific superpower is, the energy of who you are at soul level, it's just like, it's so much easier because you just take aligned action to it, right? So that was a very self-love act to figure out something that was wrong with my health, right? Other things that I did was I let go of my OBM, my VA, my coaches, biz besties in a very short period of time. Like literally, I just did not talk to them anymore. Or I let them go from my team. I restructured my team. That was a very much of a self-love act, right? I went on a date with my husband, which is again is more love and connection. I actually taught my husband how to do things in my business so that we could work together in my business, which is again love and connection, right? I talked to my sister for 3.5 hours that I haven't talked to her in a really, really long time, which was love and connection and authenticity. I held space for her with her issues, right? Because I wanted to create more of that loving connection, right? I got pedicures, manicures, massages. Those all seem like self-care related, but that was really helping me to improve my health. But also in terms of learning how to relax and receive, right? Because as a love superpower, that's my theme. I don't do that for myself. I do it for other people, or I teach people how to do it, but it's really hard for me to do it for myself, right? So whatever your superpower is, okay, whatever the energy of unique soul is, it's a theme. There's a theme behind everything, and your actions needs to be aligned to your superpower, not the other gifts. Okay, mainly it's more about the superpower, and using each part of your blueprints in this way. Okay. Other things that happened was my mother-in-law actually stayed with us for 6 weeks. She's actually going to be here for another week, and she helped like so much in the daily things that we do, watching our son, just allowing her to help me in even receiving money from them, because they're actually from Europe, in the Netherlands, and actually she flew down here just to help us because my health was failing. So that was a very big act of love and connection and receiving support. That was, again, another theme. Other things I did was setting up systems and processes in my business. I hired a marketing agency that helped me specifically to set up a funnel so that I could save time and don't have to market so much about my one evergreen program. That's very much a love act again. My social media posts, I talked a lot about saving time, which again is the specific thing that my ideal client really would love and need, right? I asked my friends for help, like I said, so I could receive love and support. I did this New Year's extravaganza where I give, giving exchange with my community, created more of a community feel. People got free sessions from each other so they could get to know each other, right? That created love and connection, love and support. I did, what else I did? I did like activations and healing work. I posted them online of all my grid work activations, and people received whatever, energy it was that I activated for them to receive it. Right? So you see how the theme is? It's all about aligning to my superpower. I let go of the process, let myself go into the process rather than thinking about the exact outcome of what it's supposed to look like, letting it totally unfold. I gave a follow-up call to my 14-day and my 0 to 7-figure new clients, and so that I could create more love and connection and community. I let Source guide me completely. Just watching for the signs. So being in nature a lot. We went camping, right? That's again, love and connection, community. We're actually going to go see the whales too with my family. That's again, love and connection, receiving the energy from the whales is very, very healing, right? I emailed my list again, right, about the soul alignment blueprints, because I was teaching, I was talking about this new modality, and so people don't really all know about it, right? So do you see how the theme behind everything that I did, all of these specific actions were aligned to my unique blueprints and my unique soul, and it was shifting my mindset, and it also allowed me to create the right strategies that actually makes the money, come in response to it. Because remember, the money is just the result of the energy that you put into your launch. So the more you align to the energy of who you are, the more you manifest amazing things, not just money. So after that, actually, I received not just only money, but I received like support in all kinds of forms that I never thought was even possible. So because that was what I was needing at the time. So this is what I want you guys to think about, is what are that specific actions that you can do every day, all the time, because you actually have to create a spiritual practice where you are creating the spiritual, doing the spiritual mindset and the spiritual strategy until it's like becomes normal. So no matter what you launch, you're always in alignment to that specific offer, and you can offer it at any time, any place, right? You could just email your list. You could do it in your Facebook group or stuff like that. You could just decide that I just want more money, and the thing just comes to you. Do you see what I'm saying? So I want you to think about that. Where in your life, in your business, do you need to shift your spiritual mindset and spiritual strategy so that you can actually receive the abundance in all types of forms? Because it will come in your relationships, in money, finances, right? It can come with somebody just gives something to you, like gives you a car, gives you a book. It can be something small to something big. Because abundance should flow to you at all the time. So if things are not flowing to you and it just feels chaotic, it usually means you're not aligning to who you are at soul level. You're actually taking action away from who you are at soul level. So if you do more action towards who you are at soul level, the more likely there will be more peace and more calm and love and connection, and you'll feel more at peace with yourself. Do you see the theme? So this is how I know when somebody's not in alignment, is when I go to their house and it's very chaotic. I'm not judging anybody, but like that's kind of a big signal that they need to align to who they are more. So I help them to figure out what it is that they need to do on a daily basis that's based upon their superpower. Because the more you align to who you are, the more likely there will be like quiet and more peace. As soon as, and this is also how you know the weather. Sometimes the weather gets really bad. Like raining cats and dogs, it's snowing, nobody can move, right? Of course, you might live in a very snowy area, but when the weather dramatically shifts at the same time when there's a lot of chaos happening, it's very likely that you're not aligning to your blueprints or not aligning to who you are. You're taking actually action-wise, you're going away from who you are at soul level. So the more you take action towards who you are, the more likeliness that there will be more peace and calm in your life. I know that firsthand, because as soon as I'm not in alignment, I swear to God, like over here in Hawaii, it's always blue skies and always nice weather. And suddenly it's raining, like flooding, like things just go bad, like, you know, things are not working. And that's how I know I'm not in alignment, because it shows directly from my outside circumstances, especially with the weather. Of course, you can't always control the weather, but that's just an example. So anyway, now I'm going to talk about the shifts in your sales attitude that you need to make, okay? There are 4 major shifts that you need to make in your sales attitude. And what I mean by that is just the mindset that you might have about making the sale, okay? So one of the things that you need to realize is that which one you have a tendency to use a lot, right? The negative side, and then what is it that you need to shift into? So the four shifts that you need to make in your sales attitude is letting go of the fear, right? Letting go of shame, and letting go of resentment, and letting go of any self-doubt. Okay, so if you have any of those 4, you could even have a combination of those 4. This is the reason why your launch isn't going well. Okay. So where is it in your life, in your business, right, that you are creating more fear, shame, resentment, or self-doubt? And what you need to shift that into, right, is the fear needs to be shifted into love. The shame needs to be shifted into authenticity. And resentment needs to be changed into empowerment. And self-doubt needs to be shifted into self-worth, right? So fear to love, shame to authenticity, resentment to empowerment, and self-doubt to self-worth. So I have my notes here, just so you know. So the main issues that might be going on right now is you have a fear. So remember I was telling you I have a fear. So I had a fear to sell, basically. And I was afraid of basically how people will perceive me, right? I was concerned that I might be too pushy or salesy. More like people might see me as a salesperson, so I didn't really want to put that offer out there because I was afraid. right? That if I sell my stuff, that, I don't know, maybe somebody's not going to buy it, right? So what is the fear about selling that you have to uncover, right? And when you have this fear, you tend to like shy away from actually having those conversations about what you do. You maybe even have difficulty promoting yourself. You may even have anxiety about your new product that you're putting out there, your launches, or even asking prospects to buy, right? You're usually giving a ton of value, or you underprice yourself because you want to be liked, right? Those are usually where the fear comes from. So that, of course, needs to be shifted into love. So that's one big issue that you need to see. Is it that? Do I have a fear? The second one is shame, right? So this is where like you may have shame around money somehow, where you're about asking for the money. So when you feel ashamed, you don't even tend to sell at all, right? You just kind of like maybe have grown up with perceptions of like money is dirty, or some kind of belief like that, or what you end up doing is kind of sneaky about whatever you're selling. So you be very vague about what it is you're selling. You may hide your products and services away, kind of put it on a little tiny like page of your website so they actually can't really find it, right? You may not even give the call to action at the end of your whatever you're saying that you're selling, and your prospects actually have to like work really, really hard to find out like what the heck are you selling. You see what I'm saying? So if this is where you're kind of like feeling very awkward and kind of apologetic, and you're kind of like tucking away whatever you're selling behind the scenes and you don't even follow up, that usually means you have something about shame in the way that you're selling, okay? The third one is resentment. So this is the most common one of misalignment in your sales. And especially if you're a very conscious entrepreneur, you tend to do this. So general resentment is usually around having to sell at all, like just having to sell something where you should be, because you may be very talented, but you feel like you're not enough, right, to be able to put it out there. And it's like or you may even have unrealistic expectations built into why somebody might come and might even be selling it, right? Why should I even sell it, right? So it kind of reinforces the energy of resentment until the client simply just doesn't want to engage with your sales anymore. They kind of just disappear, right? So this way of like, I should be recognized by my value that I give to people, but people aren't paying me, that's usually coming from resentment, right? So again, if you want to shift this from the fear to love, right? From shame to authenticity, resentment, right? To, empowerment. So that's what needs to get shifted, right? Is you need to come from an empowerment rather than like, why the hell nobody's like buying stuff from me, right? The fourth one is the self-doubt. Okay, so when you have this kind of thing, this is a very, again, common thing about misalignment is in sales is self-doubt. So this is where you simply just doubt that your products or services are actually worth at all any form of investment, right? Where even you don't feel worthy of anything at all, right? So what you do is you kind of like hurdle around and try to overcome that. And when you're starting your new business, it just kind of like shows up as more of a misalignment where you're working really hard and you're giving the valuable work, but you're really doubting and you're almost like self-sabotaging your sales process, right? Where you kind of almost isolate yourself in terms of like not really like seeing how valuable whatever you're offering, right? And so the more you isolate yourself, the more people don't understand what you're selling, right? And your offers just actually makes you more and more inauthentic, and you don't really feel like you can really show up as yourself, right? Like it can get really, really that bad. So this is the kind of thing where, you heard of fake it till you make it. And it's that philosophy that you're making the offers that just really don't align to the actual experience of what you're actually trying to give. And so you're kind of like in and out of what the heck I need to create, and you're having very, very low self-worth, right? So that's why you need to shift, is from self-doubt to self-worth. So this is my question to you, where are you in terms of how you sell? So what's your attitude about it, right? That specific thing you're going to need to shift, right? Is it the fear, the resentment, the self-doubt, or is it the shame that you have about selling? And when you really look at this is why spiritual mindset is important and why you need to take an actual action towards it, because it changes the game of everything that you do. You're going to find that you're just more at peace with yourself with selling things if you can overcome those 4 major type of sales attitude, okay? And you shift it into love, authenticity, empowerment, and self-worth, okay? So yeah, so that's the 2 major things I'm going to talk about: the shifts in your sales attitude, the 2 ingredients for your sacred launch, and I gave you those examples of different kinds of spiritual mindset and spiritual strategy. So that's your assignment for today, is to figure out and list out 10 actions. So the first one is list 10 actions that you will do in order to shift your spiritual mindset, okay? And the second one is, again, make 10 actions that you will do for your spiritual strategy. So this is in terms of execution, right? Execution, and usually a little bit mindset, but more about like the actual action it takes to like make the sale, or that gets people engaged into actually buying something from you, right? And then the third thing is what sales attitude, right, that you need to change, that you need to shift in order to make sales. So, because, it's either one of those 4 things: the fear, the shame, the resentment, or the self-doubt. Okay, so which one of those are really, really bothering you right now? And then what actual action you will need to do to change that. So remember, now I had that fear. I needed to change it into love. So my soul line action was to make that email and send it out to my list, because I knew it's my community. I'm not sending it out to some random peoples, right? I'm sending it out to people who actually loves and supports me, who have been on my list, who knows how long. But, that was the best strategy for my specific program, right? That, again, create an explosion because people were ready for that next step. But I just didn't really want to offer it because I was afraid that what if somebody's going to think about me selling my blueprints. I know it sounds really stupid, but like that's basically what's happening in your head, is that there's something about the sale, something about the mindset, something about your strategy that you are afraid of doing, right? That you need to actually take those actions. So when you have those 10 actions, I want you to actually start doing it from today on out. Like for the next month, whatever you're launching, just think about those actions. What is it that I need to change in my spiritual mindset? What it is I need to change in my spiritual strategy, right? What are those 3 major ingredients, right, to have a successful launch, right? This is your soulmate, the spirit of your soulmate client, the spirit of your business, right? The spirit of your offer, right? And bring out that unique sacred creativity. Once you do that, everything just feels so much more easier about the launch. It doesn't feel so daunting because you're actually taking a line action and you're actually doing something. So you have to figure out which part you suck at, right? Do you suck at the execution part? Do you suck at the mindset part? Do you suck at the actual planning and strategy of it? Okay, because it's really, really, really depends on which part that you suck at, and this is where you need to get help. So if you know you suck at mindset, go get a mindset coach that can consistently like remind you, right? If you suck at execution, or you just don't really want to do the execution, go get a VA, get an OBM, get like people who actually does the implementation for you. Like for me, it was I need to hire the marketing agency in my business. It's a must. I cannot not do without funnels at this point. It just doesn't make any sense. And that's why a lot of 6-figure entrepreneurs, they run themselves to the ground because they don't have something that has a backbone in place for them to build upon or to launch upon, right? If you don't have the systems and processes, it's just, you won't go anywhere. There's no way you can get past the multiple six-figure mark. You may be pushing it, but you won't really get past that. And then when you get to 7 figures and beyond, there's so many different other problems you're going to have. So just because you achieve a certain amount, if it's 5 figures or 6 figures or 7 figures, it never ends. The problems never end. So you have to actually know what stage you are in your life and your business, right? Especially in your business, like, are you still, at a beginner stage where you just need to continuously work really hard and launch a lot of stuff? And then you create systems and processes because you know what sold and what worked. I see a lot of people try to create systems and processes when they actually haven't even launched anything that was successful. So you have to realize that if whatever level in your business is, you actually have to do the strategy that's most aligned at that stage, right? I'm at a stage where I actually have to work less because that's the only way that I can keep the spirit of my business alive and to keep going forward. Because if you completely, disintegrate your fun in your business, which usually that's what happens when you get to multiple 6 figures or 6 figures or in between, you will not be able to continue this long term and you go bankrupt, right? You cannot keep continuously launching after launching without actually having a real strategy and systems and processes to get to that next level. Okay, so was that helpful? Anybody have any questions? I know I was talking about the whole time, but I wanted you guys to understand that sacred launches has a lot to do with alignment and of your mindset and the strategy combined. The strategy, and I didn't talk about the execution because the execution is what you create when you actually do in that order, right? When you do from sacred creativity to sacred offer, right? To actually sacred launch. The launch itself, I can actually talk about the whole launch process later, but I don't think I can actually go into it because it really, really depends on what you're launching, right? What kind of business model you have. So what is your positioning? Like, are you a teacher? Are you an implementer, a consultant, right? Are you coaching people? Are you a connector for people? Like, you have to actually really decide how you want to show up. And that tells everything about how your content comes out of you. A lot of my clients don't understand that content comes from actually your positioning. So my content is through teaching. This is why I make master classes and make paid master classes, free ones. I do, like my programs, my group programs, because I'm teaching you the spiritual mindset stuff, right? I'm talking about all of these things because it's coming from my position, which is I'm teaching people this process. Now, coaching is a whole nother type of model, right? Consulting is a whole nother kind of model, but people try to mix it all together. You actually have to choose one or two in order to actually make an impact, because until you've actually made one part of your business that is actually implemented really well and you're making 6 figures plus on that model, then you can move on to the next model. Okay. Najwa says, I think I will implement this over a few weeks to really internalize the 3 parts together. Thank you. Yeah, this is really important for you guys to realize is that it is a process. Man, this is very helpful. Yes, I hope it was helpful. There's actually more to this. So this is why I'm actually going to create a paid masterclass for you guys. And this masterclass is really again, about sacred launches, 5-figure sacred launch programs. 5-figure sacred program launches. And I'm going to actually put a link below here. If you guys want to join this, it's going to be two live master classes, and it's going to be in 2 weeks from now. And I'm going to share with you the entire process of what it takes, what you actually need to do from start to finish. Because what I just went over was just one tiny piece of actually sacred launches. So can you imagine how much information, right? So I'm going to put a little thing about what you're getting for this, and it's $77 to join this 2 live master classes. and its original price is $497 plus, because actually I'm going to give a healing activation in it. So if you're actually really wanting to know more in detail, like how to take each one of these steps, come to my paid masterclass, because you're going to learn even more detail than what I just told you. This is just the very beginning of an actual launch, is the alignment process and thinking about the spiritual mindset. Then we actually have to go into the actual strategy. So when you actually get on the call, I can answer all of your questions, right? About like, well, how do I get this thing out there, to what is it that I'm missing? Why didn't my launch work out? Like, I can answer all those questions if you tell me specifically what you've done before, and what worked and what didn't, and why it did and why it did not, because it has a lot to do with what your superpower is. So for example, like Power Souls, the way that they launch is very different than the way that Love Souls launch it, or Wisdom Souls, or Order Souls. And so when we go into this masterclass, I can actually figure out your actual launch process. And so then we can go into the strategy and the execution part. So this was just to give you an idea of like the first part of the process, like the pre-launch stage, what you're thinking about, what you're aligning to, and then you're continually doing this on top of the actual execution. So sometimes it could mean that you need to hire somebody specifically for that launch, and you actually may need to make a budget for it. Like for example, this launch that I'm doing with my soul alignment blueprints, just the first beginning of my launch is an $1,100. Actually, it's $1,1,000. I actually calculated. I was like, wow, this is actually going to be a really big launch. So it's actually going to be a 6-figure launch. But my intention in the beginning was like, it's just a 5-figure launch. I just, put out the $997 deal. But actually, when I calculated and I looked at the strategy behind what I need to do in the next year, it actually is a 6-figure launch. Okay. So this is what you need to realize, is that when you first get the idea and everything, you actually need to know what the numbers are, like how many people are going to be in it, to, the little details, like does it come with an in-person thing? Does it come with a meditation? What does it come with, right? So my soul alignment blueprints modality, I'm going to entwine that with my retreats. And so that means that it's going to be a higher end offer. But the reasoning behind it is because I want to do attunements in person, right? I want to be able to do the attunements and actually meet the person, because I want to make sure that they know how to use the blueprints in the right way, right? So whatever the offer is, the launch that you create has to be really, really aligned to your soulmate client, on top of what they actually going to need in order to implement whatever you're teaching, whatever you're giving to them. Because programs, to me, is a huge transformation. You're changing people's lives. You're impacting their family, their friends, because if it is you're helping them make money, or you're helping them in their relationships, right? That's all priceless. You absolutely have something amazing to give into the world. But you really need to know that whole process and then how to launch that. So in the masterclass, I'm going to basically kind of go over those things, like how to price things, and what's more aligned, and then what kind of like launch it actually should look like. Because like I said, like when I first started, I didn't think it was a 6-figure launch, but when I think about it, I'm like, wow, if I have that many people that I want to, certify, then it should be a 6-figure launch, right? Not just a 5-figure launch. So if you know the exact numbers and the number of people and all of that, you're going to have to calculate, you're going to have to figure it out. And so this means when you know the outcome of what it is, this means that all the little tiny details that you need to do for the whole year is going to make complete sense, right? Like I know because of me doing this modality, I'm going to need to have books. I'm going to need to have, I need to have certain kinds of expenses, right? So I'm going to have to hire certain people to make this whole launch make sense, and because it becomes a 6-figure launch, right? Then everything that I do for the entire year, I'm just doing it one by one. I'm executing the little details. So I want you to think about that. What is the ultimate like number, right? Income that you intend with that specific launch, because it could be something bigger than you can even imagine. And so when you know that those 10 actions, right, because assignments find the 10 actions of your spiritual mindset, 10 actions of your spiritual strategy, and knowing what sales attitude that you need to change, that's going to make a huge impact on how you launch this, right? If it's fear, if it's shame, is it resentment or self-doubt, you're going to have to work on those specific things, and shifting that on top of the actual numbers and things like that that comes with the strategy behind it. So in the masterclass, I'm going to talk a lot about all of those little details, and then you can also ask me questions that can help you with your launch process in the first place. And later on, I'm planning on making a lot of my masterclasses as into my book or into like courses, digital courses and things like that. Why? Because my model has a lot to do with teaching, right? How can you leverage time based upon what you need to get out there? Obviously, my type of business model has a lot to do with a lot of content. So of course it has to look in a book. You may not have a lot of content. It's just about supporting and implementing, then you don't even need to have a book. Do you see what I'm saying? So we think that it needs to look in a certain way, but actually it doesn't need to be unless you know what your position is. Okay, so that deciding that is really important part of the process. And so yeah, my soul alignment modality, I'm also going to give a new offer for you guys. So that's something else you're going to see in my Facebook group. I'm going to post about that. So at the end of this live stream, just make sure that you do your assignments. You put this at the bottom. Take a picture of it or type it up is totally fine. And then about maybe Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to pick the winner and you're going to get a prize. I'm not sure what the prize is actually, but I always go with the process. So and then I find out what the prize is once Source tells me what it looks like. But anyway, so you get a prize by doing it. And then, and if you really want to join my masterclass, or if anybody else that you think will really love this about sacred launches, 5-figure sacred launches, it's going to be on a Tuesday and Wednesday, two live master classes like I did the last time. So anyway, was that helpful for you guys? If you have any other questions, you can put at the bottom before we go. I think it's been an hour, so we're good to go. So yeah, if you want to join this, it's $77, or it's going to go up the price to $197 after Monday, and then goes to the original price, $497, before the 2 live master classes that will be in 2 weeks from now. All right. And about my soul alignment modality, if you're really wanting to know about how to really use your blueprints for yourself, but also for others, this actually helps you in your life and your business, because I actually give you permission to do this on your family. I've been in a lot of modalities where they say don't do this on your family, but actually I really believe if you know what your family's gifts are and how to help them and coach them through the process that you're learning with the soul alignment coaching that I'm going to kind of help you with the Blueprint certification program. It's going to really impact your life and how you communicate a lot. Because to me, your relationships affect everything in your money relationships also, right? So everything that you're doing in your relationship, in your personal life, and in your business life, they affect each other. And having the soul alignment blueprints will really, really help you with that process. So anyway, I'm going to give another offer for that one, and doors are opening to that in February 1st is when we're going to start. Alrighty, so thank you guys all for being here. And again, share this live stream and do the assignment, and then you'll be entered to win the prize. So if there's not much people, then you're lucky. I don't have much to choose from. All right, so you guys have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you guys all very soon. Aloha. Bye.